Hey, today we will tell you that when you start exercise, what are the energy systems that provides you energy during exercise and what are the various processes that are involved. So do watch the whole video. The body has three main energy systems it can use for different types of physical activity. These are called ATP-PC phosphagen system. The second one is the anaerobic glycolytic or lactic acid system, and the third one is the aerobic system comprising of the glycolytic, which is carbohydrate, and lipolytic, which is fat system. To continue exercising, ATP must be regenerated from one of the three energy systems, each of which has a very different biochemical pathway and rate at which it produces ATP. So how does the ATP-PC system work? This system uses ATP and phosphocreatine that is stored within the muscle cells to generate energy for maximal bursts of strength and speed that last for up to 6 seconds. The ATP-PC system would be used, for example, during a 20-meter sprint, a near maximal lift in the gym, or a single jump. Phosphocreatine is a high-energy compound formed when the creatine protein is linked to a phosphate molecule. The phosphocreatine system can be thought of as a backup to ATP. The job of phosphocreatine is to regenerate ATP rapidly. So how this happened, let me explain. Phosphocreatine breaks down into creatinine and phosphate, and the free phosphate bond transfer to a molecule of ADP, forming a new ATP molecule. The ATP phosphocreatine system can release energy very quickly, but unfortunately it is in very limited supply and can only provide 3 to 4 kilocalories. After this, the amount of energy produced by the ATP phosphocreatine system falls dramatically, and ATP must be produced from other fuels such as glycogen or fat. When this happens, other system takes over. So when ATP phosphocreatine system is in short supply of energy, an aerobic glycolytic system works. This system is activated as soon as you begin high intensity activity. It dominates in events lasting up to 90 seconds such as weight training set in the gym or a 400 to 800 meter sprint. In order to meet the sudden large demands for energy, glucose bypasses the energy producing pathways that would normally use oxygen and follows a different route that does not use oxygen. This saves a good deal of time. After 30 seconds of high intensity exercise, this system contributes up to 60% of your energy output. After 2 minutes, its contribution falls to only 35%. The anaerobic glycolytic system uses carbohydrate in the form of the muscle glycogen or glucose as fuel. Glycogen is broken down to glucose, which rapidly breaks down in the absence of oxygen to form ATP and lactic acid. Each glucose molecule produces only 2 ATP molecules under anaerobic condition, makes it a very inefficient system. The body's glycogen stores decreases quickly. The gradual buildup of lactic acid will eventually cause fatigue and prevent further muscle contractions. Contrary to a popular belief, it is not lactic acid but the buildup of hydrogen ions and acidity that causes the burning feeling during or immediately after maximal exercise. So the last system that provides energy when the other two systems runs out of energy is the aerobic system. The aerobic system can generate ATP from the breakdown of carbohydrate and fat in the presence of oxygen. Although the aerobic system cannot produce ATP as rapidly as the other two anaerobic systems, it can produce in larger amounts. When you start to exercise, you initially use the ATP-PC and anaerobic glycolytic system, but after a few minutes, your energy supply gradually switches to the aerobic system. Most of the carbohydrate in aerobic glycolytic system comes from muscle glycogen. Additional glucose from the bloodstream becomes more important as exercise continues for longer than 1 hour and muscle glycogen concentration decreases. Typically after 2 hours of high intensity exercise, almost all of your muscle glycogen will be depleted. After this, glucose delivered from the bloodstream is then used to fuel your muscles along with the increasing amount of fat. Glucose from the bloodstream may be derived from the breakdown of liver glycogen or from carbohydrate consumed during exercise. In aerobic exercise, the demand for energy is slower and smaller than in anaerobic activity, so there is more time to transport sufficient oxygen from the lungs to the muscles and for glucose to generate ATP with the help of oxygen. Under these circumstances, one molecule of glucose can create up to 38 molecules of ATP. Thus, aerobic energy production is about 20 times more efficient than anaerobic energy production. Anaerobic exercise uses only glycogen, whereas aerobic exercise uses both glycogen and fat, so it can be kept up for longer. The disadvantage is that it produces energy very slowly. Fats can also be used to produce energy. In the aerobic system, one fatty acid can produce between 80 to 200 ATP molecules depending on its type. Fats are therefore an even more efficient energy source than carbohydrate. However, they can only be broken down into ATP under aerobic conditions when energy demands are relatively low and so energy production is lower. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe the channel for more videos.